Fact Shunter 187 is now live. Streaming Just Chatting, Epstein Files.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is the first time I do Just Chatting. After 1 month of streaming, I've been streaming.
At Fact Shunter 187, hit peakpi.c0m shush for viewers.
Thank you. Yes, it's 7:55. I am going to try to stream this Just Chatting section. I've been streaming gaming content for a little bit over a month, for 4 weeks and a few days. This is going to be the first time where I'm going to be streaming content that is not gaming. I am going to stream something, a topic of conversation that I've been meaning to get into. The Epstein conspiracy is the horror story of our age. And the topic of this stream is, did Jeffrey Epstein and the elites, did they perform ritualistic satanic ceremonies in the Epstein Island, right? That is the question that we have. Now, here's the thing. The Epstein Files don't show any proof that there were satanic rituals taking place on the Epstein Island. That is something that has not been verified, that you cannot find it in the files that the Department of Justice has provided so far. And as a matter of fact, if we go to Google and we pose the question, were there ritualistic satanic rituals? Were there satanic rituals performed in the Epstein Island? And we get a response similar to this. Allegations regarding satanic rituals, occult practices, or worship of entities like Moloch or Baal on Jeffrey Epstein, Epstein's private island, Little St. James, are considered unverified conspiracy theories, while Epstein was convicted ex-offender who engaged in widespread actual trafficking of minors. Investigations and review of evidence have not supported claims of occult or ritualistic abuse. Now, that is something that it's a topic of conversation that I wanted to get into, because I believe that there were ritualistic satanic ceremonies performed by the elite, where they even sacrifice humans. I believe so. Now, why do I believe that this happened? Because there are certain elements that were found on the island that support the belief that Jeffrey Epstein was somehow involved in some type of satanic rituals. Now, here, for example, let's start from the bottom. Let's start from the very bottom. There are some people who want to deny these things, and I understand. You know, we have to stick with what we know, right? But we know that there have been a heavy cover up by the government. They don't want to divulge everything. They don't want to name names of the people who participated on these horrific crimes. So I believe that there is definitely proof that there were satanic rituals performed by Jeffrey Epstein. The thing is that without the evidence, what can we rely on to verify at least my suspicions or our suspicions? Because I'm not alone in that belief that there were ritualistic practices there, right? And this is the part where I have to, for example, I have to show you. Now, I have there are 3 videos that you can find on YouTube that show some evidence. One of my favorite videos that I found is by this channel called Brett Bender. Let me show you his channel. Brett Bender, he's been working on these Jeffrey Epstein videos, space videos, for a long time. He has this channel, his name on the channel, Brett Bender. He has 62 videos, 3,094,000 subscribers. Very good job. With only 62 videos, he managed to do all that. And there's a good reason why. This guy has been making videos about Jeffrey Epstein and other conspiracies for almost 6 years ago. And the video that attracted me while I was doing research on the topic is this one: the meaning of Epstein's temple. Epstein's temple. Epstein's temple. I apologize for the mispronunciation. English is not my first language. I apologize. I need to work extra hard to get the pronunciation and the proper pronunciation. But okay, so I'm gonna play little clips of this video, the meaning of the Epstein temple, and I also gonna play a couple of 2 more videos, so that we can have a better picture of what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein and why I believe that he was involved into this type of practices. So let's watch a little clip of this 18-minute 23-second, and to get started and get ourselves a little bit into the swing of things. Okay, so let's see. Let's go over here, and
people on the internet are connecting the dots that Jeffrey Epstein's temple looks exactly like a place called Hammam Yalbuga. Now, we go to Hammam Yalbuga's Wikipedia page. It says, Yalbuga is a Mamluk-era public bath in Aleppo, Syria. It was built in 1491. So this is a place that offers massages. You can go to a sauna here. And the connection that strikes out to me right away is massages is how Jeffrey Epstein groomed his young 14 to 16-year-old victims. He had a private mansion over there in Palm Beach, and what he would do is he would pay recruiters to go out and find women and say, hey, there's this rich guy in Palm Beach. He'll give you $200 if you go in and give him a massage.
Now, here's the thing. Something that we need to keep in mind is that Brett Bender, he just came back after he took a break from uploading videos. Look, he uploaded this video 6 years ago, and as we all know, we just got some releases of the files, the Jeffrey Epstein files, in 2025 and early this year, 2026. Now, this guy, he was ahead of the curve on everything. But he obviously this video that he made 6 years ago, he's already saying some stuff that just became common knowledge to everybody, public knowledge, right? So, like, for example, he took a break. Look, the latest video that he made was 3 years ago. And then just recently, a couple of months ago, he came back. He made this video, I'm back. So this guy was ahead of the curve on all the stuff that he is showing us right now. So yes, I just wanted to let you know that this guy might be saying some stuff in this video that you and me, we probably know now because of the revelations of the Epstein Files, but he was very close to all of that and 6 years ago. So let's continue.
Only catch is you got to do it in your underwear. So this is how he...
One more thing. I'm going to speed it up a little bit because I don't want to... I only have 1 hour to show you everything. I cannot stay for too long because I have little things to do. I gotta go take out walk my dogs out, and then I gotta go take care of my dad. I'm sorry about this. So that's why I'm gonna speed up the videos, okay? So let's continue. I apologize for the interruptions.
He'd invite girls into his mansion, they'd give him the massage, and of course Epstein would offer more money for a little bit more than just a massage. And this is how he kind of figured out what he could get away with. The guy is super into massages himself. It's just an interesting connection. All right, so we go on the Wikipedia page and we click Mamluk era. What is that? On its Wikipedia page, we see Mamluk is Arabic, meaning property. It's an Arabic designation for slaves. The term is most commonly used to refer to non-Muslim slave soldiers and Muslim rulers of slave origin. So what is Jeffrey Epstein guilty of? He's guilty of sex trafficking, basically slaves. And what is the architecture that he styles his temple off of? But Mamluk architecture, which is indicative to slave culture. All right, so another interesting connection with the Hammam Yalbuga is right here on the Wikipedia page. It says, it is located next to the entrance of the citadel of Aleppo on the banks of the Kiwak River. So what is the citadel of Aleppo? So according to Wikipedia, the citadel of Aleppo is considered to be one of the oldest and largest castles in the world. So then we scroll down to the history section of the Citadel of Aleppo, and it says the recently discovered temple of the ancient storm god Hadad dates use of the hill to the middle of the 3rd millennium BC. So who is Hadad? Go to Hadad's Wikipedia page, and I kid you not, I can't make this up. Hadad is another name for Baal. It says Hadad was also called Pidar, Repu, or Baal Siphon, or simply referred to as Baal.
Now, Baal is one of those, the name Baal was exposed in the recent Epstein Files that were, revealed to the public. And one of the things that really kind of gets me angry, like, for example, Jeffrey Epstein, when you click here, look, Baal, look. When we click the name Baal, it tells us that it was a mispronunciation. Instead of, look, right here, fact checkers and analysts conclude that the word Baal was most likely a clerical or scanning error for the word bank. Now, I mean, really? Are you going to tell me that somebody mispronunciated the word bank and instead typed the word ball? What type of mistake do you have to make to confuse the last 2 words A and L instead of typing the word N and K? It makes no sense. When you look at your keyboard, the letter N and K are far away from the word A. So how are you going to type twice A instead of N, and instead of K, you type L? Well, that one is a little bit more, maybe, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it, especially for what we see on the video that we're watching right now. Okay, let's continue.
I think it's worth noting that Baal is also used as the title for other gods as well, but still, the bull was the symbolic animal of Hadad, which also relates to Moloch.
And I have to take a quick break right here to show right there. Unfortunately, one of the worst practices that people in those days used to do is they will put babies on the arms of the idol before setting it on fire. Back in those days, they were sacrificing children in the arms of this idol that looked like a bull, right? And as you can see down here, you can see the people putting wood inside. And this is horrific. Those were horrific practices. As you can see right here, the little kids are scared to death. The women holding their children. And when they will set the baby on fires, when they will set the babies on fire, they will chant and scream and blow the trumpets loud enough just so that they will, overwhelm the cries of the kids when they were being sacrificed. It was horrible. And that got me traumatized when I first went into the files. And that's why I apologize. Maybe I should have I should have put a description saying that to be careful when watching this content, because we're going a little dark. And as I mentioned, I was traumatized when I read the Epstein Files. And it took me some time to get back into my normal self. So we're going to continue. I apologize for the interruption. Also, I had to do it because obviously copyright and infringement, right? So let's continue.
Well, the common conspiracy here that we hear all the time is that these billionaires, they are Baal worshippers, Moloch worshippers, and Satanists. So how does all of this tie into the evidence that we are now seeing coming from Epstein's Island? All right, so look at the side-by-side pictures of Epstein's temple and the bathhouse over in Aleppo. Look at the similarities. It's unbelievable. We can say at the very least they are resembling the same architecture. And the architecture is, in fact, the Mamluks. So who are the Mamluks? The Mamluks were a class of people, mostly of Turkic or Caucasian ethnicity, who served as slave soldiers between the 13th and 16th century in the Islamic world spanning from Egypt to Syria. The name Mameluke is derived from the Arabic word meaning slave. So there are two distinct periods during the Mamluk reigns. The first period saw the Bahri dynasty that ruled Egypt between 1250 and 1382 AD. This dynasty would import young slaves, mainly Kipchak Turks from Central Asia, and groom them to be warriors. And the second period saw the rise of Borhi Circassian dynasty, which ruled from 1382 to 1517 AD. The Circassian Mamluks were the white slaves that were taken from the northern Caucasus Mountains and traded in slave markets. They were captured in their early childhood, usually around 13 years of age, by the sultans who raised them in special military camps to become soldiers for the ruling class. So let's look at this quote from Voltaire, what he has to say about the Circassians. The Circassians are poor and their daughters are beautiful. Indeed, it is them they chiefly trade. And of all those who are wealthy enough to purchase and maintain such precious merchandise, these maidens are very honorably and virtually instructed how to fondle and caress men, and how to heighten by the most voluptuous artifices the pleasures of their disdainful masters, for whom they are designed. So what is the significance between the Mamluk architecture and the relation to Epstein's temple? The Mamluk style of architecture was considered eclectic. Throughout the Mamluk Empire, you will find many buildings, especially mosques, using what we know today as the oblak style. Oblak is an architectural style involving alternating or fluctuating rows of light and dark stone. Although the oblak style isn't unique to the Mamluks, they utilized the oblak lighting effects heavily, which was a dominant feature throughout their empire. They basically made it their own. So this architectural decision was also pushed by the Sufis, or Islamic mystics, the so-called illuminated ones. Here are some quotes from a couple of Sufis from that era. Reason is God's shadow. God is the sun. What power has the shadow before the sun? The cosmos is all darkness. It is illumined only by the manifestation of God in it. Whoever sees the cosmos and does not contemplate him in it, or by it, or before it, or after it, it is indeed of light and is veiled from the sun of gnosis by the clouds of created things. And what's so fascinating is these people, they were obsessed with the sun. And what do we find also on Jeffrey Epstein's island but a giant occult painting of the sun? So yeah, right here we see an image of the sun on Jeffrey Epstein's island, Little St. James. This is drone footage taken by a YouTuber named Rusty Shackelford, who's done great work. He actually purchased a drone, went out to the Virgin Islands himself, and got a lot of amazing video of this island. So what is the meaning then behind Epstein's temple? Epstein's temple was an ode to the Mamluk era of when captured children were taken as slaves to do the bidding of the elite class. Young boys were taken and groomed to later become soldiers, while young girls were taken and groomed to later become personal concubines of their masters. Do you now see the parallel between the Mamluks and Epstein? I mean, these people are sick.
Yeah. It's, listen, I have to be open with you guys. I've never been into conspiracy theories. Because, unfortunately, some of the people who who pander to conspiracy theorists, they tend to go over the top. They go too extreme sometimes. They will, start talking about lizard people and all that stuff. That's why I never been too attracted to that kind of stuff, right? So until recently, when the Epstein Files were released, and I started seeing patterns, because what we're seeing here are patterns, right? In the Epstein Files, as we already saw here on the when you type Epstein Files, they say there are no allegations. There are no supported evidence to confirm that they were satanic rituals. But as we can see right here, there are so many patterns that fit into the description of those ritualistic practices that I do believe 100% that they were ritualistic sacrifices of humans in the Epstein Island. Now let's continue watching. Like I say, I had to interrupt because of copyright infringement, but I wanted to make a video about this for a long time, and I thought that streaming would be perfect because I don't want to take information from this guy, from Brett Bender, and then repackage it and put it on a video of my own. I think it's unfair for me to do that. That's why I thought that maybe presenting these videos. This video has been only watched 122,000 times. I believe this video should be watched millions of times. I believe millions of people should be watching this Brett Bender's content because the guy was ahead of the curve. A lot of the stuff that we're just seeing, he already knew 6 years ago. So who am I to steal his content? Who am I to take the knowledge that he has grabbed, put it on a video of my own, and then put it out there? No, it's not fair. So please, go watch the entire video yourselves. Go subscribe to Brett. Go watch all his videos. But in the meantime, let's continue. Like I say, I want to show you more than one video. But let's continue because there's still more. Let's go.
So, another piece of evidence from drone footage taken by Rusty Shackelford on the Little St. James Island here is a statue. A very mysterious statue that people on the internet can't quite figure out who it is depicting. But I have pretty good evidence to believe that it is actually Enki. For three reasons. First off, I'm going to show you side-by-side pictures of both Enki and the statue here on Jeffrey Epstein's island. The first notable similarity here are the hand positions. Notice how his hands sit on top of one another there. Look very closely at the crown or turban that the statue is wearing. You'll see a very slight upward curve, like a C, like the letter C on his turban crown there. And you'll see that same little curve on every statue of Enki as well. And I don't see this really on any other statues from the Mesopotamian era. And of course, then also notice that it has a beard, and the beard begins down from the bottom of the nose and covers the front of his chest. I'd say the beard is also quite similar to the Enki depictions that we have from Mesopotamia. I'm pretty sure also that it is Enki because it fits with the Luciferian idea of it all as well. So according to both theistic and atheistic Satanists, and there is a very big difference between the two, they both agree that Enki is a metaphor for Satan, for Lucifer, and Enki is often referred to as a snake.
Now, that is so enlightening in the sense that we saw this is perfect. The guy has good eye on spotting those patterns. Now, one thing I have to, the reason why I paused the video right here, look at the shape right here. This is supposed to be the half body, the lower body of Enki. Look at the pattern, how it looks. This is supposed to be a snake. The snake, the lower body of Enki was that of a snake. Look at the pattern, like the zigzag right here. We can see the same pattern on pictures of the island, the Jeffrey Epstein Island. Let me see if I can. No, I don't have the video. I had the video somewhere. Hold on one second, please. Epstein, meaning Epstein photos to extreme. Hold on, right there, right here. Let me show you
Context
really
of the
fast.
photo.
Hold on. Let me see if I can spot the picture of the temple from. There was this guy, this YouTuber who did a drone overview of the island, and he took some very good pictures of the temple. And I apologize, I didn't have this one ready. Let's see. I'm trying to find it. I'm pretty sure it's right here. I just need to spot it. Oh, look, we're getting close. Hold on. I apologize. This is in real time. As I mentioned, this is the first time I stream anything else that is not video gameplay. So I'm in the process of learning, and at this point, obviously, I'm gonna learn from my mistakes. Next time, I will have everything much better position. Oh, right here, yeah. This is the temple right here. Look. So one thing that we need to keep in mind. Oh, look, right there. Hold on. Let me see, right there. Hold on. Let me see if I can spot the right moment. Yeah, right there. Look. This is the another YouTuber conspiracy files. Now, obviously, this was 2 months ago. This video right here, 2 months ago. One thing about Brett Bender, he didn't have the pictures that were released, obviously, most recently. He didn't have the pictures of the
Context of the photo.
of the inside of the temple, the so-called temple, right? He didn't have close-ups of the temple. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Right there. Yeah, there you
We're
go.
actually seen the interior of the temple, and I haven't really seen people talking about it. So this is a classic kind of Epstein Island image. You've got the geometric patterns that are in front of.
Look, you see right there? You see right there this zigzag shape? These paintings,
Of this temple,
the floor.
and then at the very top, I believe this is the highest point of the island.
See right there, these patterns. Look, it goes into zigzag. Where did we saw that right now? You see right there, zigzag shape. Right there. There are a couple of drawings this way. I don't personally. I cannot assume what this round squares pattern means. Personally, I believe it's the sun and Enki because they're together. But I haven't found verification for my assumption, for my suspicions. But this one right here, the zigzag shape, definitely is very similar to the zigzag shape of the lower half of the body of Enki, which is a snake. Let's continue.
All right, so according to Sumerian legends, Enki was among the Anunnaki. Those were the gods that created humans. It was Enki, Enlil, and a few other of the Anunnaki. Now, the reason that they created humans was to be a slave race to mine for gold. At first, it was the responsibility of the lesser gods to mine the gold, but they eventually got sick of doing this, so Enki created the great idea of, hey, there's these ape-like hominids over here on Earth. Let's turn them into a slave race that we can use to mine our gold. Enki and Enlil turned the lower-level hominids into the humans that we are today in order for us to mine materials. So this goes on for a while, but then Enki feels guilty about this, and he ascends down to humanity, and he frees them by giving them knowledge. And this is within direct reference to Genesis, of the snake, Lucifer, coming down and giving the tree of knowledge over to humanity. And it's therefore no coincidence that Enki is often referred to as a serpent. Enki is actually part of the Brotherhood of the Serpents, and in ancient tablets, Enki is shown as having a serpent's tail.
A serpent's tail. The same pattern that we see down here. I believe that this pattern right here, this zigzag that you can see on the ground here, it also repeats back here on that side of the island. Let me
You have
see.
this building, which is literally pain.
Yeah, I don't think he has a good picture of the other side of the island. But let's continue watching. But yes, I believe that was a reference to Lucifer, the snake. I mean, we're not gonna find something like that when we ask Google, right? Because it's not written in the Epstein Files. But we're connecting the dots right there. So let's continue.
In fact, the Old Testament, which is based off of 39 books written in classic Hebrew, is based off of Eridu Genesis, which was originally a Mesopotamian story of Adamu, look at that connection there, being the first human who is a part of this slave race, and Enki frees him. So these people have good reason to believe that Enki is a direct representation of Lucifer. And overall, this isn't really innately a bad thing. Lucifer just being a symbol towards rebellion of authority. But then the Old Testament, it was translated by 72 Hebrew scholars, which happened in 300 BC. And when they made this translation, they noticed that the Genesis of the Old Testament, strangely enough, said, "We made humans in our image," which was weird to them because at that time, Judaism was monotheistic, meaning one God. So they just kind of brushed this off, not knowing that the term Elohim in ancient Hebrew was in reference to the Anunnaki of ancient Mesopotamian and Sumerian origin, El meaning God and Ohim meaning plural. We made them in our image. So the Jewish scholars, they translated this at, again, 200, 300 BC in an event known as the Septuagint. But what they changed was they made Enki giving the fruit of knowledge over to Adam as a negative thing. But in ancient Mesopotamian culture, receiving the fruit of knowledge was a positive thing. Humanity was freed from the confines of their slavery. But then you see in our Judeo-Christian culture, it becomes a negative. So, I mean, it's understandable why these people think Lucifer is a positive symbol, which I don't think is a bad thing either, because there's a large difference between atheistic Satanists and theistic Satanists. The majority of Satanists today are atheistic. They derive from Levian Satanism, which, again, they just view Lucifer as a symbol of rebellion against authority, which is not a bad thing.
Rebellion of authority. That means breaking the law. So what was Jeffrey Epstein doing? He was committing crimes and staying in the shadows. And who was his accomplices? The elites, the people who believe that they were masters of everybody else. So you can see the patterns right there. This is something that is so enlightening, especially after what we know now on the recent revelations of the Jeffrey Epstein documents, right? So let's continue.
Where I think Epstein and his crew are a little weird is it really looks like they're into theistic Satanism, as in that entails worshiping these strange beings, that entails doing rituals in order to curb their favor. I think that this is apparent due to just the symbolism that's riddled across Epstein's Island, and just the justification of a man to be able to do something as disgusting as traffic children and have sex with children, which is exactly what he is being convicted of doing, with a slew of other very powerful individuals. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention as well, another occult symbolism that was found on the island, thanks to the investigative work of Rusty Shackelford and his drones, are the armillary spheres. As you can see here in this image, and the armillary spheres were commonly used by the Zoroastrians. The Zoroastrians are an extremely ancient religion, actually the first one ever to have the idea of a monotheistic religion, which is actually why Judaism today is monotheistic. Before they were polytheistic, before the Jewish people were conquered by the Persians, and the Persians had the religion of Zoroastrianism. So Zoroastrianism and ancient Judaism are very closely linked. For example, the three wise men in the story of Jesus in the manger, they were a part of the Order of the Magi, which were Zoroastrian. They were Zoroastrians. As you can see in Raphael's famous painting, The School of Athens, in this painting, Ptolemy is holding an armillary sphere, and Zoroaster, the god of the Zoroastrian religion, is holding another. And you could even tell that Raphael, the painter himself, had an incredible amount of respect towards Zoroastrianism because he placed himself directly next to Zoroaster in the painting. So Zoroastrianism is a very intriguing religion. Is actually a fascinating religion that still exists today, and in Iran and India, which is a very peaceful religion itself. But I'm sure Epstein and his friends have found a way to skew that religion to something malicious. For example, Zoroastrianism believes that good and evil are just natural parts of the universe. I'd be willing to bet that since Zoroastrianism says good and evil are just natural parts of the universe, this could be how Epstein justifies his horrible acts. It's just a natural part of the universe, according to Zoroastrianism.
I'm sorry, I was trying to pause right there, but I didn't want to cut him too early. Yes, there is like a self-justification for evil people to commit those crimes, thinking that what they're doing in a way is natural or is normal, and that everybody else is grown by thinking otherwise. And I mean, to me, that's the definition of evil. Doing something, believing that what you're doing is right, when in fact what you're doing is wrong, because you're causing harm and you're damaging other people around you. I believe that that's the definition of evil. Evil is not the person who hurts somebody because they want to do the thing because it's bad. No, I think they hurt people because they believe themselves to be on the right, by thinking that good and evil are the same thing. That's my belief, but that's just my opinion, right? And I cannot subscribe to that way of thinking. I think it's bad, but at the same time, in a way, we are all kind of guilty of that. If you think about it, we use a lot of times we harm people without knowing, and we think it's okay. Like, for example, when we buy products built by companies that enslave and abuse workers in other countries, a lot of us, we don't sweat about it, right? Or also, like when we go to buy food at fast food restaurants that purchase meat from factory farms where they torture animals before killing them to convert their meat into the hamburgers and fast food that we eat, right? So I believe that we all have that problem, and having a little bit of self-reflection on what we do, I believe that can help us progress to a better tomorrow. But there's a lot of pushback, obviously, because a lot of those things are inconvenient to all of us. And it is inconvenient not to buy, when we're hungry, not to buy food from McDonald's instead of going to a place where we know they have products from meat from farms where they haven't abused the animals, right, or tortured them before killing them. So that's why I'm saying we need some self-reflection on this issue, but that's a little bit too far from where I'm from the main topic of our conversation. Let me play a little bit more, and then I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna jump to a video that explains a little bit more why. Actually, no, hold on. Let's continue, and then we'll take it from there. It's only 3.5 more minutes.
And another thing, of course, like Lucifer is a symbol of enlightenment. These people think that they are enlightened. That's probably maybe where the relation of the idea of the Illuminati comes from. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that this statue here definitely represents Enki, due to the similarities I discussed, due to the hand positions, due to the upward tilt on the front of the crown, due to the beard being located directly below the nose, and due to the fact that Enki is directly linked to Lucifer, and these people have been accused of nefarious activities that could be related to Satanism. The architecture of his temple is definitely not indicative.
All right, you see, that's what I was telling you. Look. You see the snake, the zigzag shape here is also over here. Me personally, I am under the suspicion that the snake represents Enki, and the round squares represent the sun. At least that's my opinion. Also, it could represent the universe, but that's just me guessing, and I don't want to distract too much from what Brett Bender is saying. So let's continue.
Of a workout facility, as ABC News has said. So yeah, that about wraps it up. Hopefully you have a better understanding of Epstein's temple, what that guy's sick philosophy is on life. 'Cause I know.
Now, obviously, Brett, he made this video 6 years ago, and he wasn't aware of what was inside of the temple, right? Because all the pictures that were taken inside of the temple were just recently released. And we can see them right now. Look at this other video from Conspiracy Files. He's going to show the rest of the pictures.
Painted. Like, this appears to be wooden doors and everything, but it's painted in almost a cartoonish way to look like this. And it's just up here at the very tip of the island. And I've heard people for years say this is where the parties would happen. There's an elevator in this building that goes down to the secret tunnels. There's this and there's that. But nobody to this day really knows the real use of this building, or why Epstein had it built, or what function or purpose it served being on the island. And as you can see, it's very bizarre. And then here you actually have on one side, this appears to be a window. Once this was removed, that kind of fake faux painted on door. And we get inside finally to the interior of the Epstein temple. Now, some weird geometry going on here, weird colors and designs. It's obviously a very, very tall room. And
one thing I do have to mention is that I don't believe that this was some type. There are some people who claim that this temple was a place where some of the women were being kept, enclosed indoors. I don't believe that, because we haven't seen pictures of any restrooms. I don't think that there were restroom facilities in that temple. I believe that that temple was built only for sacrifices, and then but it wasn't for people to stay there for a long time. There are pictures of mattresses in there, as we're gonna see in a second, but I don't believe people were sleeping there. I believe the mattresses were probably for actual rituals. I believe so, but I might be wrong. Like I say, I'm assuming things. So let's continue.
And it just screams evil to me. It just feels dark and evil. And if these windows like this were covered with those doors or whatever they were covered with, I mean, I would imagine if you're inside of here, it could be nighttime at any time of the day. It could be completely pitch black if everything's shut and sealed. There would be no light coming in. You've got a grand, what looks like bookshelf or cabinet here. I don't know what these things are. These chains that are hanging from the bookshelves, from the shelves, I guess.
Don't you find it weird right there that these chains are like that? Can you picture a person being chained, one hand from each side? I can see that happen. And then the shape of the columns right here, one of them is like a spinning and the other one is straight. That's also weird, but I don't want to put too many assumptions. Let's continue watching.
I should say. But they look to be old rusted chains that are just hanging here. They got some seashells and very, very ornate.
Now, one thing I do have to mention, I believe that the state in which you see this place, all with it looks like somebody was remodeling or something like that. I believe that this could have been uh, constantly changed, like a backstage. When before performing a play, everything looks all disheveled and everything. I believe that they will hang in curtains or whatever to fit the occasion. That's my belief, but I might be wrong. Let's continue.
Woodworking here. Notice how one side is twisted and the other side is straight. I don't know what the symbolism would be of something like that, but here's some more up close shots of the temple. You've got obviously wiring in here, things that can be plugged in. So this place could have been wired. I mean, I'm sure it was wired with AV and video. This to me looks to be a microphone cable. Basically, like, it looks like the end of a cable that you would plug into a microphone. I could be wrong about that, but it looks like what I would plug into this to get this audio. And then you've got obviously audio jacks right here. So there's some sort of audio going on here. I don't know if this is a setup for a speaker system or if this is recording into somewhere. I don't know the specifics of that. I can't comment on that. But clearly to me, this looks like a microphone cable and then these audio jacks that would plug into like your iPhone or your iPod or even a recording device. They're like headphone jacks. Then on the ceiling of the temple, I've never seen this. It's incredibly compelling. You have got astrological symbols of the stars. Clearly Epstein had this painted, but I mean, Capricorn, you've got the goat, you've got all these different Sagittarius, all these different Greek mythological figures and stories. Scorpio, this looks to be an angel. Virgo, Ursa Major, dragons, all these animals, ancient ships, a Templar cross, which I found to be interesting. Geometric designs. Like,
one thing I do have to, in case that people don't know, all of that painting, that painting, the temple, everything has been already painted over. That mural is no longer exists, for what I understand. It was painted over. Same thing outside. The outside of the temple has been painted over. So all we have is just these pictures to give us some type of explanation of what was happening. And until we have the rest of the files, I believe that there are still over 3 million files that have still not been released, and all the redactions that were done on the files that were released, which are like pages and pages of black redactions. I believe that we could find explanations and proof that there were satanic rituals in the Epstein Island. I believe so. That's my belief. I might be wrong, but only time can tell. As we saw, Brett Bender, he was ahead of the curve. He was already seeing these things far before we got these revelations, right? Now, before I end, let me see. Hold on. How much more? Yeah, let's continue watching a little bit more.
Triangle. And this was on the ceiling of the Epstein temple. So clearly, I believe you're meant to lay on your back when you're in this temple so that you can see this. And I don't know why this would be here, to be honest. It definitely doesn't help debunk the claims that Epstein was into some weird occult esoteric shit, though, because this is a very, very specific thing to have painted on your, obviously, ceiling. And Epstein was known to be a fan of Greek myths and mythological figures. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, his partner in crime, they were obsessed with Atlantis. If you actually look at Jeffrey Epstein's property in New Mexico, the Zorro Ranch, he's got what appears to be, I believe it's a hedge maze that was constructed in the shape of an ancient mythological map, which supposedly shows Atlantis. And Ghislaine was involved with a ocean charity, and she really, according to reports, admired Jacques Cousteau, the explorer, who I believe was friends with Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell. And I think Ghislaine was good friends with Jacques Cousteau's daughter. I can't remember her name, but there are a lot of ties between Epstein and Ghislaine and the search for Atlantis. Ghislaine had a license to pilot submarines. She was able to drive, or whatever you'd say, pilot a submarine. So a lot of people also believe that there was a way for submarines to get into Epstein Island and that they were trafficking children in that way. But you'll see on the property as well here, just on Epstein Island, that there are other mythological figures from ancient Greece represented. And you also saw that in my last episode about Epstein's mansion in New York City. He had lots of these mythological figures from Greek legends, and even Kronos he had up there, and he's just got a lot. Pan, we're going to talk about that.
Now, this is as far as I'm gonna go on this particular video right here. One thing that I wanted to explain, like for example, this is what I understand about Jeffrey Epstein. I understand that he was of Jewish descent, and that makes you wonder what will a person raised under Jewish traditions, why will a Jewish person be attracted to satanic rituals, right? You wonder what is the connection between Satan and the Jewish religion, and that's where I had to bring your attention to another video. This video right here: who was Baal, and why was his worship a constant temptation for Israel? So let's I'm gonna show you two segments of this video. One of them is gonna be the beginning of the video, and then the last one is gonna be the ending of the video. Okay, because those are the sections that illustrate perfectly why somebody of Jewish descent like Jeffrey Epstein will be attracted to worshiping Baal. Now let's watch. Oh, and one more thing. This video right here, I don't see any orientation, any connection between this video right here from the YouTube channel Illustrated Theology. I don't see any connection between this channel and the Jeffrey Epstein files. I mean, like you can see on the list of videos that they have, they never talk about Jeffrey Epstein. This is nothing but theology. So you can see that these guys, they know what they're talking about, and nothing is connected to Jeffrey Epstein. I am the one making the connection. But you'll see. I'll show you and you'll see.
In the Old Testament, there is a name that shows up in almost every moment of crisis in Israel's history: Baal. He wasn't just one more idol among the crowd of pagan gods. He was the chief rival of the true God for centuries. That is why he is the false god most mentioned in the Bible. And do you know what's most frightening? Israel, even knowing the true God, could not break free from him. The struggle against Baal was so intense that it almost destroyed the faith and the nation of God's chosen people. That's why in this video we will seek to understand why the worship of this false god was so incredibly seductive, and how the Lord showed in spectacular fashion that Baal was nothing more than a fraud. The word Baal is a title that means Lord or owner in the Semitic languages. The curious thing is that every city had its own Lord, its own Baal, all of them considered different manifestations of the same deity. In other words, Baal was like a franchise of false gods. Each region adapted its version, but in the end, it was always the same deceiving spirit.
Now, you guys probably already connected the dots. But in case somebody else, somebody is still, lagging a little behind, remember, Baal, the meaning of the word is Lord, right? And what did our friend here, Brett Bender, say on his introduction of the temple, right?
Which is indicative the slave culture. All right, so another interesting connection with the Hammam Yalbuga is, and this is how he kind of figured out what he could get away with. The guy is super into massages himself. It's just an interesting connection. All right, so we go on the Wikipedia page and we click Mamluk era.
So I apologize, I guess.
Yalbuga is a Mamluk era public bath in Aleppo, Syria. It was built in 1491. So this is a place that offers massages. You can go to a sauna here. And the connection that strikes out to me right away is massages is how Jeffrey Epstein groomed his young 14 to 16-year-old victims. And say, you got to do it in what offer.
I apologize about this.
On the Wikipedia page, and we click Mamluk era. What is that? On its Wikipedia page, we see Mamluk is Arabic, meaning property. It's an Arabic designation for slaves. The term is most commonly used to refer to non-Muslim slave soldiers and Muslim rulers of slave origin.
Slaves. Mamluk were slaves, and Baal was the Lord. You see the connection right there? Jeffrey Epstein making temples built by a religion, a group of people that believed that they were slaves, worshiping Baal, the god that called itself the Lord, the owner of the slaves. You see the connections right there? Where are we going to find that on the Epstein Files? Well, it says right there are no supported evidence. There are no evidence to support the claims that they were ritualistic practices. But we see the connections right there, right? It's weird. How come there are so many the redactions on the files, and obviously AI will not find them because they are redacted? The government is hiding them. They're hiding everything that the elites, the people who believe to be the lords, the lords, the masters of all of us. And that's one thing that motivates me into digging more into these files, because humans, we should not be subjected, we should not be slaves to other humans. We shouldn't be property of others. We should be owners of our own fate. That's why I feel so attracted to these repulsive people, that to expose them, to show them to the world that these people, they were committing ritualistic sacrifices because they think that all of us who work for a living, people, all of us who don't have the billions or millions of dollars that those people have, they think they own us. They think we're property. They think we are lesser than them. And I will not stand for that. I will not. If you want to continue worshiping assholes like Elon Musk or assholes like Donald Trump, and you want to subjugate yourself to them, go ahead, do it. But don't tell us that we should follow them. Don't tell us that we are wrong, that we are their subjects, that they should escape any punishment. That's what drives me into following, into finding the truth. But I'm sorry, I'm losing it. I'm crashing out. I apologize. Let's continue watching. Who was Baal? And I'll show you the connection between the Jewish religion and the worshiping of Satan.
Spirit. The Canaanites believed that Baal was the god who sustained life. He was responsible for rain, for the fertility of the earth and of human beings, and for the harvest.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna speed up the video because I'm running out of time. I apologize. Playback speed 1.25. I apologize.
His story was told as a constant struggle against chaos. First, Baal was said to have defeated Yam, the sea dragon, symbol of primordial chaos. But the threat did not end there. The god Mot, whose name means death, represented drought, barrenness, and everything that destroyed life. He even defeated Baal and took him to the realm of the dead. Without Baal, the rain ceased and the land became sterile. But Anat, his sister and consort, found the body, avenged herself on Mot, and brought Baal back to life. From then on, he would rise again every year, in the same cycle of death and resurrection, explaining the rainy seasons that sustained Canaanite agriculture. And here lies the key to the problem. Israel lived in an agricultural land. They depended entirely on rain to survive. No wonder the temptation to worship Baal was so great. It seemed like the perfect shortcut to material security. If a Hebrew was going through hardships, what would it cost him to make an offering to Baal to see if life improved? But the Lord did not approve of such an attitude. Scholars have noticed that some psalms seem to steal for God the titles and attributes that were once given to Baal. A clear example is Psalm 29. There, the voice of God is described as the thunder that echoes over the waters, as the storm that breaks the cedars of Lebanon, as the earthquake that shakes deserts and strips forests bare. All of these were images associated with Baal, the supposed lord of the storm. But the psalmist makes it clear, it is not Baal who commands the rain, the thunder, and the lightning. It is the Lord, the true owner of creation. Even Lebanon, a sacred place linked to Baal, appears humiliated, the mountains skipping like calves before the power of Israel's God. It is as if the psalm were a holy irony, showing who was truly in control. And there's more. The peoples of that region believed that Baal could also restore the life of someone who had died. But in 1 Kings 17, Elijah raised the son of the widow of Zarephath, not in the name of Baal, but by the power of the living God. God was demonstrating his dominion in the very sphere that many of that time believed only Baal had power. Speaking of Elijah, it was this prophet who led the famous episode of the Battle of the Gods on Mount Carmel. This was not just an isolated scene, but a confrontation loaded with meaning. The context was that for 3.5 years, not a single drop of rain had fallen in Israel. The land was dry, the people desperate, and the God who supposedly controlled the storm, the rains, and the fertility of the land remained silent. Where was Baal, the so-called Lord of the Clouds? He could not deliver what he promised. And that silence was in itself a blow to his reputation, for his specialty was supposedly sending rain. Elijah then gathered the people before Mount Carmel, located between the Phoenicians, official worshippers of Baal, and Israel, who were supposedly to follow Yahweh. The prophet asked a question that still echoes today. How long will you waver between two masters? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. It was time to decide. 2 altars would be prepared, 2 sacrifices offered, and the God who answered with fire would be recognized as the true one. But the choice of this sign was not random. The fire carried 3 deep meanings. First, fire was a sign of the very presence of God. Many times when God manifested himself, fire appeared. In the burning bush before Moses, in the pillar of fire that guided Israel in the desert, and even in the vision of the throne in Ezekiel. The idea here is that the true God would have to reveal himself in a real way. Second, fire was associated with Baal's own domain. In Canaanite traditions, he is depicted wielding lightning and thunderbolts. Baal was known as the Lord of Fire and Storm. That is why the challenge was so strategic. If Elijah were answered, Yahweh would be defeating Baal precisely in the area of his greatest pride. And third, fire symbolized the acceptance of the sacrifice. This type of offering was made when the people asked something specific from the deity. And the request of the moment was obvious. The end of the drought. If the fire came, the prayer would be answered, and the later rain could only be attributed to the God who accepted the sacrifice. Thus, fire and rain were closely connected in this challenge. The prophets of Baal started early, shouting, dancing around the altar, even cutting themselves. This practice was part of mourning rituals, since in ancient texts it was said that even the gods shed blood when Baal died. All this created a spectacle of despair. But despite the frantic effort, nothing happened. The biblical text describes it with irony. No one answered. No one paid attention. Elijah, on the other hand, mocked them, saying perhaps Baal was meditating, busy, traveling, or even sleeping. This is interesting because in Ugaritic texts involving this god, when the goddess Anat goes looking for Baal, she finds him hunting. The Ugaritic literature that portrays his death repeats the refrain that he needs to be awakened. Elijah's provocation was not just sarcasm, but a direct jab at the Canaanite religious tradition itself. When it was Elijah's turn, he rebuilt the altar of the Lord. He placed the offering on it, and so that no one could say it was coincidence or human trickery, he ordered everything to be soaked with water 3 times until it overflowed and filled the trench around it. Humanly speaking, there was no chance any fire could burn there. Then Elijah prayed, "O Lord, answer me, so that this people may know that you are God and that you are turning their hearts back to you." And at that moment fire fell from heaven. It not only burned the sacrifice, but consumed the wood, the stones, the water, and even the ground around it. It was a spectacular, undeniable response. The people, faced with that scene, fell on their faces and declared in unison, "The Lord is God, the Lord is God." This was not just an isolated miracle, but a direct message. Baal, whose very name means Lord, proved powerless, and Yahweh, whom the Israelites called Adonai, also Lord in Hebrew, showed who truly held authority over creation. And
So as you can see, that's the reason why Baal was considered the opposite of the true God. But still, there are a lot of Israel descendants who still worship Baal, because there's a certain thing about worshiping Baal. Unlike worshiping God, the true God, Baal accepts all type of sins, that crimes, injustices that the true God wouldn't accept. And that's why I believe the elites who worship Lucifer and Satan, they commit crimes because to them it's normal. It's not that bad. And that's how we're gonna finish this video right here. Just gonna show you really fast the ending. Let's go.
idols, such as Ahab and Jezebel, sponsored hundreds of prophets, supporting them with food, influence, and prestige. Their idolatrous practices. Idolatry, then, was not only the result of the people's weakness, but also part of divine judgment. The Lord turned the false gods into snares, so that Israel would learn, often through suffering, that He alone is the true God. In addition, kings and queens who favored these idols, such as Ahab and Jezebel, sponsored hundreds of prophets, supporting them with food, influence, and prestige. Jezebel, for example, brought priests and prophets of Baal from her homeland, Sidon, and installed them in Israel as part of an idolatrous religious policy. Another intriguing question is, if Baal was a false and powerless god, why did Israel fall into worshiping him so often? The answer is not so simple, but it reveals much about the human heart. First, Canaanite religion had a visual and concrete appeal. While the God of Israel revealed himself as the absolutely other, without images or representations, the Canaanites filled their cities with statues, sacred poles, bronze bulls, and female fertility figures. The Hebrew people, accustomed to dealing with an invisible God, could find it difficult to relate to such an abstract concept. Meanwhile, Baal and the other false gods came with tangible images that seemed to give form to the divine. They were gods you could see, but it didn't stop there. The worship of Baal also offered a carnal attraction. The religious festivals were filled with drunkenness, orgies, and ritual prostitution. In other words, worship was used as an excuse to indulge in forbidden desires. While worshiping Yahweh required holiness, discipline, and faithfulness, Baal offered a package of immediate pleasure. It was idolatry packaged as entertainment. Another factor was desperate pragmatism. When droughts, crises, or military defeats arose, syncretism came into play. They did not officially abandon Yahweh, but they opened loopholes, trying to secure benefits from other gods. It was like having a spiritual plan B. Archaeology itself confirms this tendency. In the Sinai desert, inscriptions were found asking for the blessing of Yahweh of Samaria and his Asherah, showing that the people mixed true worship with idolatry, even considering that God had a wife. Perhaps you are thinking, okay, this is ancient history. But what does it have to do with me? The answer is everything. Because the idols have changed names, but they continue offering the same false promises: deceptive prosperity, pleasure without commitment, security without trusting in God. The modern Baals don't have stone altars, but they occupy the altars of our hearts. Money, status, power, relationships, all can become our lords when they steal God's place. Elijah's question still echoes. How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, then follow him. Now, if you want to go deeper in your...
So as you can see right there, that is a powerful argument right there. Though the rich and powerful, they don't care about following the true God. They don't care about having compassion for the people who have least fortune, people who are, the sick, the poor, the people who have bad luck in life. They don't care. They don't care because to them, God is money. God is privilege, status, and they see the rest of us as lesser than humans. And I don't like that. I will fight that until the day I die. I don't subscribe to that type of thinking. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show in this video. The Epstein files are horrible. I don't recommend anybody who is fragile in a state of mind. Don't dig into them. Try not to hurt yourself too much. Just understand that evil right there, the worship of money and status, that's the true enemy. It is not Satan. It is not Lucifer. It is the greed of man. It is the worshiping of things that are not God. Me, I was raised on a Christian Catholic family, and I don't like people who worship money over God. I was taught not to fall into that mistake of worshiping false gods, and it hurts my feelings. I lose faith in humanity when I see powerful people committing crimes and getting away with it, and worse, to have people worshiping them, raising them higher than the rest of us. I hate that. So if you're a Trump follower, I'm not with you. If you are a MAGA, don't follow me. Don't subscribe to my channel. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want to hear anything from you. Okay? So yes, I'm gonna end the video right here because I need to go take care of other things. Thank you for everything. Thank you for watching me. If you like what I do in this channel, on my on my Twitch, my Kick, my two YouTube channels, my gaming channel, and my regular Fax Hunter channel, subscribe, click a like, follow me. I will continue following these things. I want to expose everything that I can, because we cannot live under the elites treating us like sacrificial lambs for their false gods. Okay, so that's it for me. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and take care. God bless you. Bye bye for now.